everybody. Right, let's see. Movement Monday. Who have I got joining? Hi, Jenny. Right, I'm just going to give it 1 minute and then we will get going. Let's just see if there's anybody else joining us. It's quite a key muscle we're going to look at today, actually, that often gets forgotten about. So if you're not doing this with me live, I do hope that you're going to be able to catch up on this one. Hi, Leslie. I hope you're well. How are you, Leslie? You okay? Right, 1 minute and then we will start. So have you been out for a walk yet today? I know you've been out, Jenny. You're dedicated on your morning walks. Right, we are going to make a start. So I think I'm in the right group, I'm on the right page. We're on Civil Fitness, aren't we? Not on Sarah Gatford, which is what I did a few weeks ago. Okay, so the muscle we are going to look at today is the anterior tibial or tibialis. So this muscle starts at the tibia, so just to the outer edge of the knee, and it actually inserts to the about 2 inches from the big toe line on the inner side of the foot. Okay, so it starts just outside the tibia, sorry, just below the tibia, below the knee, and the inside of the foot. So this is why rolling your feet is absolutely key. I know I bang on about it all the time, but your feet, there's so many attachments of other muscles taking the spine completely out of the equation. So do make sure you keep rolling your feet. Okay, now you can have a tennis ball if you've got a specific ball for the foot. If you've got a roller, that's fine, like a grid one, or you could even improvise and use a foam roller, but because it's a smaller muscle group, it's going to be quite specific. So you're not going to roll on the bone. Let me go with my left first. And we'll talk more about this muscle as we get into it. So you're just going to find the fleshy part, so below the knee, and you've got a bony prominence, and then just find, so we're going to go on the outer side here. Okay, so it's close to the shin bone, but you're not directly on your shin bone. Okay, then you're going to place the ball onto the point of soft tissue. You might want to come to a 4-point kneeling position now. Let me just spin slightly. And then we're going to do small increments. So you're only going to roll a few segments of that tissue. So it's quite a small area. So into a 4-point position. If this isn't good, then you can come down onto your forearms to take the weight, obviously off of the wrist joint, off the ankle joint, wrist and hand line. So we're here. Tiny, tiny move forward and back. If you've got a roller, then I'd probably place it towards the outside. Watch, it's not going to flip up. And bring the foot in front so you can roll like this instead. So you can still do the same action, but just take your roller to the side so you're not going over the shin bone, you're not going over a bone with a hard surface, okay? Same if you've got a, one of the longer rollers, you can still do it. Just watch it doesn't flip up and hit you, and you're going to have to roll here. So we'll do about 8 to 12 reps in the one line, on the one spot, and then you're going to move the ball, the roller, whatever it is you're using, down again. So just feel where you were, just move that ball down, and then we're going to roll again. So because it's a small muscle, you might find the control is quite difficult to keep that ball aligned, so only do a small area. Now this muscle is responsible for your foot flexing, so going into dorsiflexion and turning as well inward. Now if this muscle gets overly tight, apart from getting things like shin splints, so you know if you're running, jumping, doing things on hard surfaces, this muscle tightens up. But if the ability of your ankle joint to open is affected, then it's going to impact higher up that kinetic chain. Move it down again, as in your knee and your hip, and then obviously the spine is going to be compromised. So if this muscle is tight, it will affect the ability of your ankle to open. So when you're running, when you're walking, you're going to be getting less power through that line. And it might just veer off slightly, just reset it. You may not have noticed that muscle is tight. And then we move it down again. So you're going all the way till we get to the ankle. So just reset that 4-point position. Make sure your weight is evenly distributed through the right and left side. And the palms, spread out the fingers. And then connect into the outer border, that little finger's connected to the outer border of your shoulder. Eye gaze to the edge of the mat. And then when you've done 8 to 12 on that line, you just move it down again. So align the knees to start, and then off we go. So keep the spine long as you do this. And again, if this muscle is weak, we find we get a collapsing of our arches, that medial arch. Now this muscle is often weak, not because it's not necessarily not strong, but because it's too tight. So remember, a tight and only tight muscle is also a weak muscle. So it's distinguishing between what you need to release and what you need to strengthen in order for something to function or work, move efficiently. Strengthening a muscle isn't always the answer. In fact, sometimes you do need to do the opposite. Okay, let's go down the next line. So you're probably getting quite close now to the top of the foot, top of the ankle. So just keep that going on that line. We are nearly there. You've written me a comment. Yes, good. Yes, I am good as well. Thank you, Leslie. Just see that comment then. And then release. Okay, so you should have rolled. Now, obviously, if you've got a longer leg, you might still be going on that. That's okay. The whole line. Yeah, just baby increments of 8 to 12 reps. Yeah, on that line, all the way down. Okay, now, before you do the next one, just sit back and notice if you can sit more freely or easily into the side that you've just released. Now sit back in child's pose and just feel, even if your bottom can touch your heels anyway, which I know many of you can get there, but notice if you've got more of a drop, if you like, more of a give in the side that you've just released. There should be. So you might find that you are actually lower on one side, and that's whether you're touching bottom to heels, or even if you might be, this is as far as you go back, you'll probably feel one side has released because you've released the fascial lines there. Now we're going to change sides and we're going to do exactly the same. So just notice how that feels to sit back on your heels, even now without going forward, if you can come into this position. It's okay for your knees, etc., to sit like this. You should feel more free through that one side that you've opened the line, which means you're going to open the lines, as I said earlier, through the hip and the knees. So start on the opposite side now. So again, remember, it's just below the knee to the side, that muscle, and it goes 2 inches from the big toe where it inserts. So let's start to roll. Just small to begin. And just this side, I'm just going to spin, so I go side on. Feel any different to the other side. So when you walk, when you run, even when you cycle or row, etc., are you pressing predominantly through one side? So just that small area. We do have to concentrate doing this one, don't we? Because the ball tends to escape on this line. So definitely if you run, you should be doing this exercise. And you know, even walking, I know a lot of you are up in that walking, especially if you weren't doing it before, so this is an excellent one to do. Keep that roll, and then we move it down. So you're only, it's not a quick movement, smooth and a small area that you're tapping into. How are we doing on that one? I think this side's actually harder for me to on the right to control the line. And it might feel tender, it might feel sore. You just move it down, or you can move forward, whichever way you prefer. Tiny, tiny. And make sure you've got good breathing patterns when you're doing this. So exhale as you take in the foot that way. Breathe in, breathe out. So as you press away, exhale as the hip moves back. Not into full extension, but in that way. And just move it down again. Now I'm just going to stick with one muscle group today because it's just a short video, but ideally you'd go and do the back line as well because you've got a posterior muscle there and posterior tibialis, and you're also going to work then into the gastrocnemius and the soleus muscle, so it wouldn't hurt to do that back line after this. I'll bring that in next week, but today I'm just focusing on that anterior tibialis muscle. So there's two things to take away from this. Well, obviously there's more than two things, but two key points to take away from this. If this muscle is weak, then you're going to have a collapse through, or one of the reasons as to why you get a collapse through the medial arch of your foot, yes? Because remember, that muscle inserts 2 inches on that inner side of your foot onto the medial arch. Now, it might be collapsing, not because it's not strong or strengthened, but because this muscle is overly tight. And we just move it down again. So sometimes it's release you need to do, and as I've said to you on the other side, not only releasing the front line of this muscle, but make sure you roll underneath the foot line. So we did work on that. I think we did the feet again last week, and I know I did it the first week as well. I just did some variations. So last line here. And yeah, if you can open them correctly through your ankle joint, you'll be accessing the rest of that kinetic chain correctly, as in the knee, the hip. Because if your ankle joint doesn't open correctly, keep rolling if you need to keep rolling, then you stifle the movement at the hip, which means you can't actually recruit the glute line correctly. So it's not the glutes are lazy or they're inactive or they don't work. It can come simply because your ankle joint isn't opening. So when you walk, if this is exaggerating, if you walk a bit like this, I'm sure we don't walk exactly like that, you haven't got that pressing and that propulsion through the foot, that nice rolling motion. This is why we get this kind of posture going on, a lean to compensate, and that's why it goes into your lower back. And if you're leaning, therefore you can't truly access that gluteal line because you're not affording hip extension. The hip needs to open in order to access that back line. Yes, does that make sense? Okay. So have a sit back. Now, does that feel more even? So if you've only just joined us, you can obviously replay this, but one side will feel probably different before you've rolled the other one. Now we should be more or less even. So then if you go into child's pose, you should feel, hopefully, that you're more or less balanced on both sides. Even if you had a tighter side to begin with, because the fascial lines, you can have an effect on that fascia, but after about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes of work on each area or each side, whatever it is you're doing. Okay, so if you're running, if you're walking, rowing, cycling, anything like that, definitely you need to open that line, you need to lengthen it, yes? So it doesn't take long, and especially to prevent things like shin splints if you're doing a lot of dynamic, impact jumping work. So I hope that makes sense, yeah? Don't always think if something's weak it needs to be strengthened, sometimes it needs to actually be released. So if you are getting a collapse with that arch of that foot, you probably, one of the things you need to release this line, because if you don't release this, you're not going to truly be able to, on a functional level, as in when you're moving, be able to access the glutes, okay? So I hope that helps. and I'll see some of you tonight in the Pilates group. Don't forget we've got Zoom Pilates Masterclass Wednesday evening, so drop me an email, sarah@supple-fitness.com if you want to get the link for that. Okay, have a fabulous rest of the day, and I will see some of you soon. Bye! Oh, hi Liz, hey Joe, hey Jackie.